and welcome. My name is Piera, this is Tactus, this is Trick, and today we're here with our February wrap-up. Our February wrap-up, like you two read a fucking book. February was a bit of a fuck around. As you can see by Tactus's fancy cone, he had a bit of a rough month. In turn, I had a bit of a rough month. In turn, our bank account had a bit of a rough month. Those of you who aren't following me on social media, you probably won't know, but I'll tell you anyway. Earlier maybe 2 weeks ago, I think it was 2 weeks ago, Trick and Tactus decided to play a little rough, and my theory is that Trick and his really sharp beak bit Tactus on the belly and like ripped him open a little bit. Not bad, just like a little tiny gash, which, you know, on a small bird looks huge. And so we had to take Tactus to the hospital, hopefully to get like some tissue glue and stick it back together, but unfortunately it was wide enough that it needed to be stitched. So he had to basically have a little minor surgery where he went under anesthetic, got stitched up, got his fancy cone on, and then came home the next day. Hence why he has his little bird cone on at the moment, so he can't get to his stitches, which, like I said, it's been 2 weeks now, so they're pretty much healed up. We'll be getting the cone off this coming Friday, which is 2 days from now. So hopefully it'll be off in the next video. He'll look like a totally normal bird, not like he's stuck his head through a chisel. But he's been great apart from that. I've had the boys living apart for the last week, just so Trick didn't nibble on his stitches. They haven't been loving living apart, but I let them out all the time so they can hang out together and just keep a really good eye on them. They're fine. Tactus is fine. He's been taking his medicine like a boss. $1,000 later, he is fine. Take him back to get his cone off on Friday, and then life can continue as normal. He's been fine, he's been great, everyone's good, except for my bank account. So I read 8 books this month. I swear I read more than that. One book I read last month, which makes the 9th book I actually read last month and forgot to put it in my wrap-up because I'm shit, but that was The Hazelwood by Melissa Albert, which is this story about a young girl who has this like questionable family history, and then her mum gets stolen, and it has something to do with her grandmother, who's a reclusive author who has recently passed away, and her book. I didn't love it, I didn't hate it. It got real weird real fast, but I still finished it and didn't hate it. Anyway, okay, so I will just get into the books that I read this month in no particular order because they're a schmozzle and I can't remember which one it was, but I did recently finish this one last night, so that kind of counts. Last night I finished The Queen's Arising by Rebecca Ross, which is a YA fantasy about this young girl. Okay, bear with me. A lot happens in this very small book. I think it's a standalone as well, so that was weird for me. There is this young girl named Brianna, and she is training to become a passion, which is basically one of the 5 art forms. There's like dramatics, music, wit, knowledge, and art, and so she's trying to find which passion is her best fit before she gets like a patron and then goes on to live a good life, I guess. But things don't go to plan and she doesn't actually get a patron, and then somehow gets caught up in this like rebel plan to overthrow the current king, put the rightful queen back on the throne. A very big jump there. Like, you go into I went into this book thinking it would be about this girl trying to like be good at something and then just not be good at something, and then that failed, and but then she was all of a sudden in this weird plot helping the rebels, and it was very confusing. Like, I think I gave like a 3 out of 5, and my 3 out of 5s are pretty liberal. Like, they're books that I read, they didn't change my life, I didn't hate it, so I finished it, so that counts. The main character, I didn't hate her, I didn't love her, she was just a thing. The romance was just like, where did that come from? That's weird. The one thing I did really like about this was like the female friendships in there. Like, there were no, "Gah, you bitch stole my man." I mean, there was like an almost, but then they just got over it and didn't. So that was really cool. That's probably the main thing I liked in this. The one thing that I really struggled with, the first like 4 pages of this book are literally the map, a close-up map. You have a cast of characters, which is there's like fucking 1,000, and then you have the 14 houses, and then you have 5 random family trees. And so I spent a good 50% of this book flicking back through this to the front to see who is who. It was really confusing in that regard. Like, I think it took a lot away from the book because I was so busy being like, who are you? Are you related to this person? Are you not related to this person? What is going on? 3 out of 5, I enjoyed it, didn't hate it, would probably live without it. The next book that I read, I have found now working in a bookshop, when publishing reps come in, I'm like, hi. Well, my boss is like, hey, this is Piera, she runs a booktube channel. But it's also really handy because they give me art copies. So this is Ash Princess by Laura Sebastian, which I read recently, and I really enjoyed it. Yeah, like it was weird, but I kind of really loved it. So basically, when our lead character Theodosia was 6, her country was invaded, her mother was killed, her people were slaughtered, and then the conqueror who did that kept her as like one of his, I want to say daughters, but not really, like a slave daughter, just to kind of make fun of her and to remind what's left of her people that, you know, like they ain't shit, and just to remind her people that, you know, like they can be conquered, all that sort of stuff. And so she's basically been living in the Kaiser's court as this kind of universal joke. Like, whenever the Kaiser finds like a rebel plot, he basically takes it out on her. So one night he kind of asks her to do something really horrible, which I won't go into, but it kind of then sparks a sort of rebellion as her people come to her and kind of like, we want to rise up, we want to help, we want to take back what's ours sort of thing. But like I said, I really enjoyed it. It was really weird. The romance in it, I didn't hate. Bit of it I was like, okay, righto, YA fantasy. Typical cliche YA fantasy sort of thing. The one thing in here that I liked but I didn't like, but I can see how it's going to play into the next book, is the female friendships. So Theodosia has the Kaiser's general's daughter who she's grown up with, and they're like sisters, they get along, all the things are great, but then obviously a boy comes between them and it's all like shit hits the fan. But the end of it has a really cool twist. I won't get too much into it, this book actually isn't out yet. This book doesn't come out till April, so make sure you keep it on your radar if you're interested. So like I said, I didn't hate it, it was kind of weird. This obviously isn't the final cover, this is the final cover, which is significantly better. The next book I read, I'm just waiting to hear like the universal screams of all the fans in jealousy, but I read Obsidio by J. Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. So when I went down to Melbourne, Jay gifted me with this precious signed beauty, which is fantastic. Look at that, yeah. Which is obviously the third and final book in the Illuminae files, which I have read and I have enjoyed. Again, ironic because I don't like space, but I really liked this series. I probably should have reread the first two books to remember what was going on, but hello, sure, come and hang out. It wasn't hard to kind of get back into the groove of it. I enjoyed it. I mean, like, it's YA, so there's always like a few like cliche like romances and things in it that I'm kind of like, but I'm trash and I loved it. Such is life, child. But I really enjoyed it. Obsidio comes out soon in March, so make sure you are ready to get this. It's so shiny, it's like reflecting. Make sure you're ready to pick it up because it's a really great ending to a great trilogy. So that's a plus. I also read Blood and Tempest by John Scovron, which is the third and final book in the Empire of Storms trilogy. I didn't actually realize this one was out when I picked it up. I was very surprised. I mentioned the first two books on my channel probably last year when I read them. There were books that I really liked, but I also fucking hated really badly the language and the way in which it was written. Not the way in which it was written, but I guess the language. Like, again, chum, wag, you're my best wag, you're my chum, you're my lady, you're my Molly. Blech. I really fucking hated that. I enjoyed the characters and the plot so much that I didn't even care. And I didn't notice it as much in this book, which was a huge plus. I love the characters, I love Briga Lynn, I love Hope, I love Red, I love all of them, and like this big random thing, like just, oh, it's so good. Obviously I'm not gonna get too much into it because it is the third and final book in the trilogy. If you're interested in Hope and Red, I would pick it up. It's a fun fantasy. It was weird. It was just weird. It's like about like biomancers and this ancient race, they're not that old, called Divination, which are kind of like warriors. I'm really bad at summarizing. It's a good series, you should read it. Also this month I read Lifelike by J. Kristoff, which is not out yet but will be out soon. And I'll have a non-spoiler review coming soon if you decide you're into that. Lifelike is obviously Jay's new book coming out. It is the first book in a new trilogy. He signed it for me because I'm trash. Now this one is really hard to summarize. Which you'll see in my really bad spoiler-free review. It's hard to summarize because there's so much going on that's crucial to the plot, but I don't want to give it all away, but I also want to give it all away to like intrigue you. So basically we follow this young girl named Eve who, when we meet her, is working in this like robot sort of battle royale thing. She's built this robot to go in and like win money to be able to afford her granddad's medicine. Her bot gets destroyed on the way home. She gets like held up by like this gang. It's like this post-apocalyptic, the sun and like gas and everything has like destroyed the world, so like the air isn't clean. It's like I said, there's so much going on I can barely explain it to you. Basically, there are robots, there are cyborgs, there are these things called lifelikes, which are basically like, I want to say they're like clones, but they're not, like they look like people, but they're obviously machines. But are they machines or are they real people? They've obviously all been destroyed because they ended up turning evil, but somehow Eve and her past are linked in with these lifelikes. And what will it be? Like I said, I'm really fucking bad at summarizing it, but it was a really good book. The things that I didn't enjoy about it was obviously the romance. It seemed a little, hey, how you doing to me? I loved the friendships in this book. That was great. I loved the side characters. I always love Jay's side characters. Another thing that drove me a little bit nuts was, again, Jay's language and his choice of like swear words and his choice of like shit he makes up. And like, I get it. I hate it in general, but because Jay does it and he does it well, I don't mind it. Does that make sense? Like, he did it in Nevernight and I was like, not so bad. Did it in like, in Illuminae and I was like, oh, I don't know. Did it in this and I was like, look, by now this is what I've grown to expect from Jay's writing. So, I get it. It's still weird to me because it sounds weird coming out of my mouth, but I really enjoyed it. I can't even find you like an example. It's just that really weird, like it's like when older authors write young adults texting. Really, it's just like, fucking, it's not on. But Jay does it so well that I'm like, yeah, sick, this is how it goes. This is the world. So, I really enjoyed it. I also read Tempest and Slaughter by Tamora Pierce, which is the first book in a new Chronicle series, trilogy. Chronicle, the Numair Chronicles, which this is the first book I've ever read of Tamora Pierce. I know, shoot me. Because I'm such a bad one. This is the first book in the Numair Chronicles, which I believe is linked to one of her other series. I don't remember what it's called. Small Magic? Wild Magic? Something like that. And focuses on the life of a character called Numair, and this is his like origin story basically. So now I've gone and ordered that actual series so I can read where he gets to, but do I want to save it until these books are finished? I don't know. So I really enjoyed it. It was weird. It was really weird because I did not know what was happening. If this is a world that has already been established, I was unaware of it. So like the magic system was a little weird for me. Being introduced to it, I wasn't entirely sure what was going on. But I really liked the characters. They were a bit of fun. Like obviously it starts when he's like really, really young. I think he's like 10, 11, 6 maybe. I think he's 10. And I'm always a little hesitant when I read really, really young protagonists because I'm like, can't relate. But no, I really enjoyed it. It was weird and I'm really kind of keen. It ended in a way that I could have been like, oh yeah, sweet, like that's the end of it. But I know book 2, there's like so many questions in this that book 2 will answer. So I'm excited for book 2. And the final book I read this month was Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi, which hasn't come out yet. It's coming out soon. Now this one confused the shit out of me in a really good way. I fucking adored the characters, like hardcore adored them, and the nuances, which I mean I can't really speak too much on. Once you read it, you'll know what I mean. I really loved the characters. That was probably the thing I loved the most. The characters and their fire and their passion and their hurt. I don't know why I'm gonna cry. Really got to me, and so that's most of the reason why I enjoyed this book. The magic system was flawless, like truly, truly incredible. The hype for this book is real. Tactus, are you fucking kidding me? The magic system and the history was just absolutely flawless. The plot, I mean like I enjoyed it, but there were bits where it was a little up and down for me. There was one POV character in here that I really wanted more from, but I can understand that she was the polar opposite to our lead character in a way, but then also finds that strength, which I really appreciated. Like not all of the characters were like, gung-ho, I'm a warrior, I'm here to save the world. Like there are your more reserved characters who have their strengths as well. The romance in this is very enemies to lovers, but it's, I don't understand it completely. I mean like I can understand what was going for, but I'm really bad at words. But it just seemed a little neat for me, I guess. Although I don't know how, I'm trying to remember how it ended, and I think it ended interestingly. Sorry, I'm trying to like now block the bird from my ear. I didn't believe it enough for me. Like it was such a powerful book, but I just couldn't grasp the romance. I really needed it to not be about the romance, and it wasn't overly about the romance. It was definitely just a smaller thread in there, but yeah, I just wasn't a fan of the romance, really. It was a great book apart from that. And this fucking cover is absolutely stunning. More like this, please. Apart from that, I'm also kind of reading The Barefoot Investor by Scott Pape, which is like a finance book on how to manage your money, because I'm really fucking bad at it. Like, I can't even explain to you how bad I am. Anyway, that was it for my February wrap-up. I hope you guys enjoyed it. These two have been nothing but trouble the whole time I was filming. As you can see, living with Conyers is a world of fun. Ow! Tactus! I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and we will hopefully see you next time. Say bye, boys! I'm trying to teach Trick to do the Hunger Games whistle, the Mockingjay whistle. We're working on it. I'm just teaching not to fucking eat my earrings. We will see you next time. We hope you guys enjoyed this video. Okay, bye!